Thank you very much. I actually don't have any prepared statements, but what I would like to say is that on November 19th, Colorado Springs was a very, very different city than when we first opened Club Q 20 years ago. When we opened Club Q 20 years ago, it was hidden. It was hidden back there because we were afraid of violence. We were afraid of people picketing us. None of us were out in our professions, and we were keeping our relationships a secret. I must say that I am incredibly proud of Colorado Springs for the reaction and the response that we had at Club Q on November 19th. I was immediately, from that evening, I was immediately reached out to by Mayor Suthers and the Chief of Police and by Michael Allen, and immediately you saw them putting into place an entire army of people to start supporting us as a community, to start supporting our victims and the rest of our community. It was obviously a very, very difficult time as the club owner, dealing with my own grief, and then a tremendous amount of logistics that were going on and providing information to the appropriate authorities. So again, I just would like to thank this city. I'd like to thank the administration of this city, from our police departments to our district attorneys to our fire departments, and certainly the FBI has been tremendously helpful. We shockingly have not felt alone. There's always been a phone number and an answer at the end of my phone when I've needed that. To the community in whole, we are putting part of this process behind us now. This horrific person will go to prison for the rest of their lives. There's nothing that can fill the voids and the holes that have left by his actions. I had the pleasure of spending the weekend in Tulsa with Daniel's parents, and meeting more and more family there. There's no words, there's no prison sentence, there's nothing that can be done to make these holes whole. Obviously, I only knew personally our bartender Derek, who I'd known 12 years, and Daniel 2 years. I've gotten to know through the families and through written things about our other victims. And through this horrific tragedy, there has been some light. There's been amazing people stepping up. There's just been an amazing response. I think back to the days and weeks after this tragedy, and where I was spending a lot of time at the memorial, and I think back of all the people, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that would show up there every single day, and I would overhear them, people that had never stepped foot in Club Q, but people that had compassion for what had happened. And I remember parents bringing their children there and saying, this is the reason why you must not bully. This is the reason why hate must be conquered. And it was very profound, and that's what we've taken moving forwards from this, is that it was a very difficult decision to decide to open Club Q again. There's obviously, of the 53 people that were in there's going to be folks that can never return back to Club Q, and that's totally understood. But there's also the stories, the 20 years of what Club Q had done. There are the times when people have showed up at the front door waiting for Club Q to open with trash bags because they had been kicked out of their homes and they didn't know where else to go. And of course, the bartenders and employees at the time would then reach out and help provide services. And that's what Club Q was. You're seeing over 20 years, there's been tens of thousands of people have gone through there. Tens of thousands of people have made their friends. They've reconciled within themselves their feelings of sexuality, their feelings of gender differences, and so on. And it's so important that continues, because unfortunately, even with this ending today, the mission of hate isn't ending. There are still parents that don't understand when their children are feeling different, when they're feeling that they are in the wrong bodies, or that they're feeling that they are liking the same sex. These people, there's still non-affirming people. There's still preachers in our very town that are preaching against this. And so, unfortunately, Club Q's mission is not over, and safe spaces are still needed. And so that is our mission. I also say to this community, thank you for all the support. Please do not think that this is over. All of our victims still need so much support. The bullet wounds are not like the movies. These things don't just go in and out and everything's fine. There are long-term injuries here in this community that absolutely need to be mended and still need the entire community support for that. I think probably with that, I'm happy to take any questions if anyone has any. Sure. Obviously, I was there just about 10 minutes after the shooting, and one of the things we were doing was immediately downloading videos and just helping the police validate that it was in fact one shooter and what had happened and the entries and also for ourselves what is going on there. That night, I can tell you, and the next day when I spoke for the first time at the vigil downtown, I did not want to reopen. I was so afraid of additional hate. And the saddest part of this is immediately after this, that evening standing in the parking lot of Club Q, we were starting to get messages and messages from around the world, people that knew me, Australia, and as the time zones hit and people were waking up to this news. But with that also came a level of hate. We received hundreds of emails stating that our heroes had stopped God's work and that there should have been more people killed in this club. And those really affect you. And so part of the decision making is that we reopen. How does that look? Are we still a target, and do we want to go through this again? It took me 10 days to come to that decision. I had input from thousands of people, thousands of previous customers, people that I had known, people, strangers that I had known, from letters to emails to, just people stopping me. I was meeting with the DA and had a bite to eat before, and someone stopped me in the street. I've been to Club Q multiple times, you must reopen. And so that is the message that we've had, and at that 10-day period decided that yes, most importantly, hate cannot win. This cannot stop us. This cannot be what defines Club Q and the 20 years of what it has been. Because my son came out when he was 13. He still needs Club Qs, even though he's part of an affirming family. And there's just a whole generation that does. And so this person, this act, is not what's going to end Club Q and prevent generations or the next generation from having their safe space, their place to find their friends, their chosen family, their feeling of belonging.
During the hearing this morning, a few of the survivors who were there mentioned that they felt that their safe space had been damaged, if not destroyed. Do you think that's going to be a challenge, rebuilding the sense of security going forward?
It's definitely a challenge, and it's a challenge. We've been working very diligently behind the scenes. There are plans that both the FBI has worked with us on security plans, as with the Colorado Springs Police Department. So yes, the reopening of Club Q will involve things such as metal detectors, such as duck and hide areas, things that one should never have to plan for when opening a business. When we opened Club Q, we were thinking about what color schemes do we want, and what's the most effective way to get in here, and how can we serve the most drinks, and what does the stage look like? And now this rebuilding process has being dominated by safety concerns. And that is something that in this country, are we proud of that? Are we proud that the gun violence is so prevalent and that the hate is so prevalent and that there's still now people that are legislating against us and propagating this sort of hate, that I now need to rebuild a club and almost make it bulletproof just so that we feel safe? That's not moving forwards, and that's not an America that I'm proud of, and we need to change that.
Do you feel like, in light of what happened, that Colorado Springs is a more inclusive city now?
To be honest with you, I was shocked at the response that we have. Yes, so I think that if anything, the hearts and minds of so many people, that the needle has been moved just a little bit, and that this city showed so much compassion and caring, strangers, all walks of life. On that day and subsequent days thereafter, there wasn't Democrats and Republicans. There were just people, and there were just people here in the city who were sharing love and shared grief for us. And so I'd like to say that it's really easy not to think about people that are different than you. And, you know, especially if you're not exposed to that in your daily life. But people that are different than you, that you have to think about it. You have to step out and, oh, this is how they're feeling, and we must make sure that we protect everyone here.
Just a clarifying detail. Oh, I just wanted to know, are you reopening in the same location or a different spot?
We are reopening in the same location. The club, the first priority for Club Q is a memorial. As you've known, that we've kept our temporary memorial in front of that building from day one. The first day that it was given back to us by the FBI, that memorial was moved, and there's still dozens of people that go there every single day to remember what has happened. We still have pictures up there. And so for us, you can't just reopen and pretend like this didn't happen. It's so important that everybody that drives past there, we are hopeful that everybody on Academy will see our shining light in the evenings coming up, and our flagpole that will be the largest we can have, 45 feet, flying the gay flags. It's so important that this is remembered. It's really easy right now for you all to go to the next story. You think how many mass shootings have already occurred. I was at a sit-in in Washington, D.C. with people from Parkland and Uvalde and multiple other shootings, all trying to get attention. It's very quickly, this goes away, and for us, this can never be forgotten. The souls that were lost there, the shining lights that were lost there, must be remembered. And by us building a memorial on that site, anyone that enters there, anyone that drives by us there, a kid 20 years from now will know that something happened here. And it's the same as, if you walk into the Stonewall bar, they've done it very well. They talk about, the riots and what's happened there, and the history is told. And we feel that that is critical, that this cannot be forgotten. And as long as I'm around, it will not be forgotten.
I know that we've had some attrition on family members or victims who would like to speak. Are there any additional folks who would like to come down and be interviewed? I want to put anybody on the spot. It's totally up to you.
My name is Ron Bell. I am the grandfather of Raymond Green Vance. My wife is Stella. This is, me right now, I just want to show appreciation to the DA's office, to the prosecutors, to all of law enforcement for taking this from day one to the conclusion today. Very grateful. Now I'd like to kind of deliver a message of hope, my hope. Hope that those who have younger people in a position of trust, maybe we find ways to teach them appreciation, teach them tolerance, teach them to be welcoming to those around them, teach them to live and let others live. More of that might have had an effect on this. Thanks.
We're Sabrina and Jeff Aston, and most people know us as Daniel's mom. And dad. I'm selfish. Yeah, we just wanted to say how appreciative we are to all the people like Howard and the DA's office. They really came up for us, and we just can't thank everybody enough. Friends, family, everybody has been really, really good to us. And we're glad that this part of this journey is over. It's not going to bring Daniel back, but I think that at least we got one thing done. So, I don't know, do you want to say something?
Yes, we're just thankful that we've got this far in the process, and I'm really glad that the federal government is still investigating this case, and I hope they do press charges, and I hope we get a death penalty out of this, because even that is more than this monster deserves. That's all I got to say.
No, just go, yeah, go. Yeah, because I'm hard of hearing.
Hi, I was just wondering what it felt like to walk out of that courtroom after the judge sentenced him or them to over 2,000 years in prison.
I was relieved. I think we both were still real shook up. I was nervous the whole time. I felt like I was shaking, and I just. He was so not acting remorseful. And he's a coward for not even speaking up, and that upset me. Like I said, I'm still kind of in a shock mode right now. So, how do you feel?
I just felt hollow. It's not enough closure, not even close.
Hi, I've done a good amount of coverage on this, but I just wondered if you would be willing to share a few personal details about Daniel's character. We heard that all the victims were loving and caring family members, but what made Daniel Daniel to you?
Oh, very nice. You're good at that one.
Well, he was just the kind of person that would just light up a room when he went into it. And he had charisma, he was kind, he loved everybody. If that monster would have known him, there was no way that he could have killed him, because Daniel was just as sweet as anybody could ever be. Had these beautiful burning blue eyes, a contagious smile, and he was just a loving, wonderful human being with a lot of talent and a lot to offer the world that has been taken from us, and we'll never get to take advantage of all that he had to give us still.
He never knew a stranger. We have had so many people come to us that, have known him since he was a child, some of them, all different stages of life, and they all said, Daniel helped them, especially when, he had friends that were like transitioning like himself, and he would coach them and, give them, tell them how to do it, and, and be supportive of, whichever way they went. And like I said, he didn't know a stranger. He came here 2.5 years ago, and we were shocked at how many people he knew, until he passed, we didn't have any idea that he had met so many people, and people got up and talked about him, so, he had a personal effect on a lot of people. And we just got back from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and we were just showered with love. So many people there. They had T-shirts with Daniel Aston's name on it. So it was very heartwarming. That's where we're from, Tulsa, Oklahoma.
You touched on this briefly, but can you talk a little bit about what the experience was like of reading your impact statement and confronting your son's killer?
Well, I thought I did pretty good at the time, but then after hearing everybody else, everyone was so articulate and in explaining what the experience was like to them and what had been taken from them. And I was just, everything that everybody else said too, I was like, yeah, ditto. I agree with that. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I just wish I would have said more, and talked to him directly about what he had done to us and to so many other families here.
Was it cathartic? Was it empowering? Were you able to get any power back, or,
I think it helped me some, because I had a real hard time writing just that little bit that I spoke. And I could have said a lot more, but at least I was able to say it and get through it. And so, yeah, it did help, because I wanted to face him and tell him how he hurt us and hurt so many other people, not just us. Unbelievable.
Okay. Hi, my name is Maggie. I'm with Channel 5 News. Do you wish the defendant would have addressed the courtroom when given the opportunity?
Say that one more time.
The defendant, do you wish they would have addressed the courtroom when given the opportunity?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. I think he should have. I think it was cowardly of him not to.
Yeah, I couldn't believe he wouldn't speak up. That he just, he let his attorney, talk for him. I think that when he did that call to the AP, that was a ploy, to act like he was remorseful, and I'm off drugs now, and he wanted that hate crime out. I really believe that, and I do not believe he's non-binary. I think that he, made that up, after he got arrested. So to make himself look like he wasn't hating on the LGBTQ. LGBTQ plus people. And I think him and his mother staked that place out for several different times to get the layout, and I think that's how he was able to do what he did, the damage he did do. So.
Sir, I believe it was you. Forgive me, I'm keeping a lot of speeches straight, but did you say during the hearing that you believe Daniel would have forgiven the shooter?
Did I say what?
Did you say that you believe Daniel would have forgiven the shooter, but that you weren't able to? Was that you?
No, that's what I said.
That's what you said.
Yes. I don't think he would have forgiven him for killing the other, Derek and Kelly and Raymond and Ashley. But for himself, I think, he was that kind of person. He would, he probably would forgive him. And that, I don't forgive him ever. That's not going to happen. But yeah, he just had that kind of personality, He was friends with all his exes, even when they had real bad breakups, they still love him, still do. And so he just, like I said, he didn't hardly have any enemies that I knew of. Maybe he did, but like I said, everybody liked him that I know. So.
What do you think he would want the takeaway for everyone watching to be from everything that we've heard today?
Say that one more time again. I'm sorry.
What do you think he would want the takeaway for the community to be, beyond?
The community, yes. Daniel believed in love, and and he loved Club Q, and it was his other family, And when he first moved here, he knew nobody, and he started going in there a little bit, and started meeting people, and then he became a bartender, and he loved Club Q, and I think that we need to rebuild, and I think Daniel would want that. For sure, because it was a safe place for a lot of people, and they did a lot of good things. And I just think it's sad. There's some people that don't want to do that, but that's everybody. Everybody has to do what they feel most comfortable doing, is what I say. Some people just wouldn't be able to walk back into the building, and I understand that. That I'm not going to. I'm going. Is I feel like if we don't do it, it's like we're being chicken. So I just want to be for that. Is that it?
You guys are wonderful.
Thanks.
Wonderful.
A lot of you know me. I'm Ashton Gamblin. I was the Club Q front door girl. Daniel saved my life. I really want to take an opportunity to thank the police department and first responders for being there as quickly as they could. I do remember one of my first thoughts being, don't pull Uvalde, and being terrified if they waited that I would not make it. So my gratitude and appreciation does go out to the police department and first responders. Other than that, I am open to any questions if anybody has any.
While the defendant did not address the court directly, his attorney did read a statement saying that he felt remorse and there was nothing that they could do about the situation, they were sad about it. Do you believe that they do feel remorse?
I think that's a little crap, pardon my mouth, but I had a conversation with him when he walked into the bar that night. I was nice as can be, made jokes, smiled, laughed, and like an hour later, I was getting shot by him with no regard for my life, nor Daniel's. No. That's just a lie. You good?
Did you say you had a conversation with him hours before? Can you reiterate what you said?
I let him into the bar like everybody else. He paid his cover. I struggled with the wristband like I normally do. Those wristbands suck. But I made a joke about the wristbands and kind of laughed about it, and everything seemed fine.
During the impact statements, a lot of the victims and survivors talked about the lasting impacts this shooting has had on them. Some of the survivors saying they're still cleaning their bullet wounds to this day. Could you talk about your lasting impacts from this shooting?
I will kind of be vague with that answer. No, I suffered several injuries. And yeah. No worries. I'll be kind of vague with that. I suffered several injuries and I go through a lot. Every day is a recovery day for me. Mentally is exhausting. It does help to have the Club Q family around. But every day is just a recovery. Anybody else? Am I good?
Are there any additional questions?
Sorry, one last question. How did you feel walking out of the courthouse knowing that this person would be spending the rest of his days in prison?
As I said in my victim impact statement, I kind of wish this was a death penalty state, not because I want him to die, but I would like him to sit in a jail cell not knowing when he's going to die or what his last breath might be. Life in prison right now is as good as I'm going to get, and I'll take that. But quite frankly, I would really prefer that he go through the mental anguish of not knowing when he's going to die.
Pam, Robert, are there any additional? Okay, all right, thank you all.